our young white working class boys be unfairly targeted with this?
Oh, absolutely not. This is something that will be rolled out across the country. And look, the patriarchal norms and misogyny is not something that is confined to any one group in society, and so this is across the country and across what we have committed to is rolling this out in every school by the end of the Parliament.
So that was Jess Phillips talking to a reporter on the new UK plan to have anti-misogyny courses for middle schoolers, grade 11, as young as grade 11. Obviously, it's ridiculous. You know, the UK is a failed nation at this point. And I'm going to play another video of Jess Phillips on another news show talking about this recently. But before we do that, I just want to pull up this BBC News article so everybody knows what I'm talking about here. So this is from the BBC News as of a day ago. Boys to be sent on courses to tackle misogyny in schools. Teachers will be given training to spot and tackle misogyny. Okay. While high-risk pupils could be sent on behavioural courses, teachers will get specialist training around issues such as consent and the dangers of sharing intimate images. Anyways, the article goes on. But of course, we all know that this is nonsense, because what they're inferring and what they have inferred in the last couple of years is that the source of the misogynistic attacks on women and the sexual assaults and this toxic masculinity is coming from white middle-class boys. That's been the prevailing narrative that the UK government has been espousing and trying to convince the public that that's the reality, when we know it's not the reality. I mean, let's cut through the shit here. That's not the truth. Right? Because, it magically has nothing to do with the 87 or 88 million migrants that Europe has graciously let waltz across their border. No, it's got nothing to do with that. No, it's 12-year-old boys in Birmingham from middle-class families in Leeds. They're the source of the problem. Yeah. So before I play this next video of Jess Phillips here, I want to go over some stats for the people in the back that aren't getting it. So this is from Frankfurt in Germany. And by the way, a lot of these stats in Europe are sort of, hidden behind a wall of government bureaucracy, because they don't actually want people knowing what the demographics of the people committing the crimes are. That's too real. They hide that. There's been a lot of people try and apply for, freedom of information requests or whatever the equivalent is in Europe and in these other countries, and they're denied. But anyways, in Germany, 57.4% of all recorded crimes in Frankfurt, which is a major city in Germany, involved suspects without a German passport. "100% of serious sexual assault cases in the cited Frankfurt dataset were attributed to non-German nationals." 100% of, quote, serious sexual assault cases. Approximately 64.1% of rape cases involved suspects without German citizenship. And 54% of murder suspects were non-German nationals. 65.5% of robberies were attributed to suspects without a German passport. I mean, it goes on and on. And then in France, according to police data in Paris, 77% of solved street rape cases in 2023 involved offenders without French passports. Again, foreign nationals, migrants. A French government report on the Paris region's public transport showed that foreign nationals were responsible for 92% of thefts and 62% of sexual assaults there in 2020. Another data set shows 64% of violent robbery and sexual assault on Paris public transit were attributed to foreigners in a recent year from Europa. So hopefully the point is coming across. Again, this is classic deflection, classic war on men. I mean, it's just so tired at this point. Guys are so sick of it. Just vilified and demonized. Like, we're the problem. White men are the problem. It's not unique to the UK. I mean, this is the same attitude, the same political attitude that's pervasive in other Western countries. Canada, the States, Australia, New Zealand. It's all about this demonization, vilification of men, and pushing this narrative that toxic masculinity is whatever that even means. Men have these inherent traits that are toxic. Yeah, and men just aren't buying it anymore. Men don't believe that. They're like, I'm done. I'm sort of done being lied about. I'm done being kicked around. I'm just done. I want to be a man. I want to stand up for what I believe. I want to, practice the ideals that I believe in that make me a man. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a bad person for wanting to do that. Anyways, I'm going to leave you with this last clip of Jess Phillips in another TV appearance.
How do you deal with this scenario? You have a lesson to an 11-year-old bunch of boys about misogyny and where to go right and where to go not to go wrong. And then they leave the class, they're on the bus home and they're online and they're looking at rampant, what they think is amusing, funny, interesting, anti-misogynistic, or rather misogynistic stuff. So the lessons are being countered same day by what these boys are seeing online. How do you deal with that?
Well, look, there is a number of different things that have to be done. I mean, obviously, looking at how we ensure what children see online is safe is also part of the strategy. And we have already, since July, age verification on pornography, for example, has led to a 77% reduction in the traffic going to Pornhub. So we are already seeing examples of where regulation in a tech environment will be helping this. But I suppose what I would say to your exact point, Richard, is that at the moment we have that without any trusted adults or context for those young people. We need to contextualise the world that our young people are growing up in. And this isn't about attacking boys. This is about recognising that they are, I have to say, I feel like we have a lost decade where we didn't speak to young men or bring them in to be part of the solution in the growing epidemic of violence against women and girls, and say, we want to help you so that these attitudes don't turn to terrible, dangerous and harmful behaviour. And it isn't just harmful for women and girls, this violence. It's not a happy life. I'm the mother of two sons. I don't want my children to grow up with the burden of having bad attitudes that lead them into criminality in the future.